Welcome to Clarity Library, where ideas meet reflection, and reflection becomes transformation. Here, we break down powerful books into clear, practical lessons you can apply to your daily life. If you're passionate about growing your mind and becoming a better version of yourself, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. We review a new book every day. Let's begin. We often imagine wealth as something loud, something that announces itself. We picture gleaming mansions behind tall iron gates, luxury cars gliding down polished streets, designer labels catching the light, and vacations in hidden islands that only the ultra-rich have coordinates to. But the truth presented in The Millionaire Next Door is almost the exact opposite. Real wealth, durable, steady, generational wealth, is often quiet, sometimes invisible, frequently ordinary. It's the kind of wealth that could be sitting right next to us at the grocery store, in church, at a bus stop, or at a parent-teacher meeting, and we wouldn't even notice. And perhaps that's the very first lesson. What we think wealth looks like and what wealth truly is are often two different things. The book began with a question the authors couldn't ignore. Who are the real millionaires? Not the celebrities. Not the high-status professionals constantly performing wealth. Not the flashy social media personalities who seem to have everything but always need to sell something to keep going. The researchers wanted to study the real thing, not the illusion of wealth, but the substance of it. So they conducted interviews, collected surveys, met thousands of households across America. And the discovery was surprising. The average millionaire was not living in Beverly Hills or Manhattan penthouses. They were living in average neighborhoods, in houses modest enough to avoid attention. They drove used cars, not because they couldn't afford new ones, but because they didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Their confidence didn't come from display. It came from discipline. This introduces a powerful idea. Wealth is what you keep, not what you spend. And isn't that the opposite of what social media sells today? We live in a world where people post their meals, their vacations, their designer clothing, their hotel rooms, all in pursuit of admiration from strangers. The tragedy is that many are financing these displays through debt. The millionaire next door knows that trying to look rich is the fastest way to stay poor. Think about it for a moment. How many people today are chasing applause instead of security? How many people have confused attention with achievement? How many people work hard not to build wealth, but to pretend they have it? This contrast leads us into the first embedded principle of the book. Living below your means is not about restriction. It is about choosing freedom over appearance. The millionaires studied did not see frugality as suffering. They saw it as power. The power to choose what matters. The power to control one's future. Consider a real modern example. Let's take a young tech employee earning a good income in a major city, say Lagos, Nairobi, or Atlanta. We can call her Amara. When she gets her first high-paying job, the pressure from social media, peers, and even family tells her to level up. Upgrade wardrobe. Get a new iPhone. Move to an upscale apartment. Change appearance. Project success. It looks harmless. After all, she can afford it. But after rent, transportation, weekend outings, fashion, dining out, gifting, and small indulgences, her income disappears every month. She is living a lifestyle she assumes reflects her success, but she is building nothing that lasts. Now compare Amara to Daniel, who also earns a similar income. He still enjoys life, but he chooses differently. Instead of the expensive apartment, he chooses a modest one where rent only takes up a small fraction of his income. Instead of buying a new car on financing, he buys a reliable used one and pays cash. He invests a fixed portion of every paycheck. He avoids lifestyle inflation. Nothing about him looks extraordinary. Nobody applauds him. But beneath the quiet surface, something powerful is happening. His wealth is compounding. After 5 years, Amara has memories, pictures, and bills. Daniel has assets, investments, and options. Who is richer? And more importantly, who is free? This leads into another insight the book emphasizes deeply. Financial independence matters more than status. Many people live to impress others, yet the harsh reality is that the people we try to impress are not thinking about us nearly as much as we imagine. The millionaire next door understands this early. They detach self-worth from possessions. They know that real confidence is silent because it doesn't need to be proven. The authors found something else interesting. Most millionaires were not surgeons, lawyers, or corporate executives. They were often small business owners, not glamorous careers, but stable ones. Think of electricians, plumbers, farmers, local shop owners, logistics operators, tailors, small-scale manufacturers. Their secret? Consistency. These were not people chasing trends. They were people who understood that wealth grows like a seed, slowly, quietly, rooted in patience. We see this today more than ever. In a world obsessed with viral success, the quiet builder is still the one who lasts. The influencer who rises quickly can fall just as fast. Trends fade, attention shifts, algorithms change. But the man who owns 10 rental motorcycles for delivery drivers, or a woman who runs a small poultry farm that expands year by year, or a family that owns a neighborhood grocery store with loyal customers, these are the millionaires nobody sees coming. And have you noticed something? These people rarely scream for attention. They are not chasing admiration. They are too busy building. The book teaches us something profound. To become wealthy, you must learn to be comfortable being underestimated. You must learn to let people misjudge you as ordinary. You must learn to walk away from the pressure to display and instead choose the discipline to grow quietly. Because there is strength in invisibility. There is peace in not being observed. And there is power in surprise. This is where the next part of the journey begins, the shift from earning to keeping, from spending to investing, from performing success to becoming successful. If wealth is quiet, patient, steady, then we must ask, what kind of mindset creates such a life? Because this way of living is not accidental. It requires intention. It requires clarity. It requires rejecting the loud and glittering version of success society constantly pushes. The authors discovered something striking. Most millionaires were disciplined planners. Not planners in the sense of having complicated spreadsheets with impossible formulas, but people who understood where their money was going, what it was doing, and why. They lived intentionally. Their spending reflected their priorities, not their impulses. This introduces a subtle but life-changing principle. Wealth is not the result of one huge financial decision. It is the accumulated result of thousands of small ones. Each meal prepared at home instead of ordered out. Each phone model kept for an extra year instead of replaced. Each car bought for durability instead of status. Each outfit chosen for utility instead of show. Each month where investing takes priority over indulgence. It is in the small, quiet moments where wealth is born. Take a moment to reflect on your own daily life. Where does your money go when no one is watching? What do your habits reveal about what you truly value? Are your routines aligned with your dreams or with the expectations of others? Wealth is not built in the grand gesture. It's built in the consistency of everyday behavior. The millionaires in the study understood this, and they built systems that supported their discipline. They budgeted, not as a restriction, but as self-respect. They didn't say, I can't spend. They said, I choose not to waste. Their restraint was rooted in purpose. And this is where another shift happens. They didn't see money as something to consume. They saw it as something to grow. Contrast this with a familiar modern behavior, the treat yourself mentality. It's everywhere, in ads, on social platforms, in conversations. The world constantly tells us, you deserve this. Buy it. Enjoy life now. But have you noticed how this phrase always benefits the sellers, not the buyers? The millionaire next door believes something different. I deserve freedom more than I deserve temporary pleasure. This mindset changes everything. Consider someone who earns $1,500 a month. With pressure from friends, colleagues, and the endless soft life images online, they may believe they must dine out frequently, upgrade phones often, dress in trending fashion, and celebrate every weekend. At the end of the month, there is nothing left. Dreams stay dreams. Stress grows. Life becomes a cycle of earning and spending with nothing to show for it. Now consider another person with the same income. They spend intentionally. They cook most meals, choose timeless clothing instead of fast fashion trends, avoid emotional spending, and automate savings. They invest a small amount consistently, maybe in mutual funds, treasury bills, ETFs, real estate cooperatives, or even a long-term digital skill. They avoid debt where possible. They track financial progress monthly. After 3 years, the difference between these two people, who once stood on the same ground, will not just be financial. It will be spiritual. One person feels controlled by money. The other feels in control of their life. That difference is not luck. It is habit. Another powerful insight the authors discovered was who the millionaires did not try to impress. They did not feel the need to signal success. They did not buy luxury watches to feel important. They did not upgrade cars to gain attention. They did not dress to convince the world of anything. Their confidence came from within. They had nothing to prove. And here we meet one of the greatest forms of wealth, the peace of not needing external validation. How many people today are trapped in the exhausting cycle of appearance? How many are constantly purchasing, upgrading, displaying, posting, not because they want to, but because they fear not being seen as successful? The millionaire next door is free from that psychological burden. Freedom, not status, is the true goal. The shift from consumer to owner. One of the most consistent financial behaviors among the millionaires studied was this. They spent more time acquiring assets than acquiring products. They bought stocks, bonds, real estate, equipment, tools, education, and businesses, things that generate income. They avoided consumer goods that depreciate the moment they are bought. This is simple, yet it changes lives. Poor people acquire products. Middle-class people acquire liabilities. Wealthy people acquire assets. Think of the person who buys the newest iPhone on credit. It loses value immediately and must eventually be replaced. Now think of the person who uses that same amount of money to purchase shares of a stable company or invest in land in an early developing area. Over time, value grows. Wealth multiplies quietly. This is not about deprivation. It is about direction. Money is always moving. The question is simply, does your money move toward your future or away from it? Discipline becomes identity. Another striking finding in the book was that many millionaires came from families that were not wealthy. Their wealth was first generation. They built it themselves. They had to learn how to manage money, often through self-education, trial, and error. And once they learned discipline, it became who they were. Their lifestyles didn't change dramatically when their income increased. If anything, they became more cautious, more intentional, more thoughtful. Because they understood how hard wealth is to build and how easy it is to lose. They respected money, not worshipped it, but respected it as a tool. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about their discipline is that it did not make them unhappy. It made them free. It gave them control. It gave them peace. They didn't feel the need to chase happiness in purchases because they found fulfillment in progress. This is the emotional heart of the book. Wealth is a lifestyle before it is a bank balance. It is a mindset before it is a number. It is identity before it is achievement. Once discipline becomes who you are, wealth becomes something you naturally attract. If the foundation of wealth is discipline, then the house built upon it is purpose. The millionaires documented in this research weren't simply saving for the sake of saving. They were building toward something. They had a vision for their lives, a vision shaped not by society's expectations, but by personal conviction. And this is where many people struggle today. They want wealth, but they have not defined why. They want success, but they have not described what it looks like for them personally. Without purpose, money slips easily through the fingers. But with purpose, money becomes a tool, guided by intention. The millionaires next door had a sense of purpose grounded in freedom and security. They wanted the freedom to make choices not dictated by fear of financial instability. They wanted to shield themselves and their families from uncertainty. They wanted the peace that comes from not being controlled by circumstances. Pause for a moment. What is your why for wanting wealth? Is it to impress others? Or is it to create stability, opportunity, and peace? This question matters more than we often realize, because the answer shapes the habits we build. Work and wealth, the mindset shift. Another truth emerged from research. Most millionaires did not rely on luck or sudden windfalls. Their wealth came from years, often decades, of consistency. Many were business owners, yes, but their businesses were not glamorous. They were often in industries that society overlooks or undervalues. But what these millionaires understood was simple. The goal is not to look successful. The goal is to build something that lasts. They valued long-term sustainability over short-term applause. Think of a barber who owns 3 small barbershops in different neighborhoods. His work is not glamorous. His income is not celebrity level. But he earns steadily. He expands slowly. He trains staff, invests profits back into the business, buys equipment outright rather than financing it, and eventually owns the buildings where his shops operate. Then one day, almost quietly, he reaches a level of wealth others assume is impossible for someone in such a simple profession. Meanwhile, someone earning twice his monthly income in a flashy corporate job might remain trapped in consumer debt, high rent, and lifestyle inflation. This reveals a profound truth. The value of work is not determined by how luxurious it looks, but by how well it aligns with discipline, consistency, and ownership. We live in an age where people chase aesthetics of success, office titles, branded elegance, curated lifestyle images, rather than the substance of wealth. But the millionaire next door focuses on substance. Always. Time, the silent builder of wealth. Wealth requires patience, and patience requires emotional maturity. The millionaires studied were willing to wait. They were willing to let wealth grow slowly. They understood the quiet miracle of compounding, where small amounts, multiplied by time, create extraordinary results. This is why many millionaires are not the youngest people in the room. They are often in their 40s, 50s, 60s, because they gave their wealth time to flourish. But here is the good news. We don't need to wait until we are older to start benefiting from compounding. The earlier we start, the more powerful it becomes. Consider someone who invests just a small, consistent amount each month, even something as modest as $30, $50, or $100. Not because they are wealthy now, but because they want to be wealthy later. That person builds a habit of wealth long before they build the number. And isn't that the key? You build the mindset before you build the fortune. We live in the social media era, where life is performed more than it is lived. Someone goes to a cafe not because they want coffee, but because they want a picture. Someone travels not for rest, but for content. Someone buys clothes not for comfort, but for aesthetics. In this world, it is easy to believe that being seen is being successful. But the millionaire next door lives differently. They understand that attention is not wealth. Popularity is not wealth. Aesthetic is not wealth. Money that is spent to gain admiration is money that dies. The wealthy build what endures. The rest build what entertains. Ask yourself gently, are your daily financial decisions driven by personal values or by the desire to be perceived a certain way? This question is not meant to criticize. It is meant to awaken family and generational perspective. One of the most revealing insights from the book is how millionaires handle their children. While many middle-class families express love through spending gifts, vacations, expensive gadgets, millionaires express love through teaching independence. They avoid raising children who rely on parental wealth for identity or stability. Instead of giving money freely, they give tools. Instead of solving problems for their children, they teach how to solve them. This is a hard truth in a world where helping is often confused with overindulging. True help prepares a person to stand alone. False help binds a person to dependence. Millionaires want their children to inherit strength, not just money. They know that wealth without wisdom collapses in one generation. So they pass down principles, discipline, simplicity, patience, humility, ambition rooted in purpose. And this is what cements generational wealth, not the riches themselves, but the mindset behind the riches. You may be noticing a pattern. Wealth is not built by accident. It is built by identity. It is built by character. It is built by consistent small choices aligned with long-term purpose. This is where we continue next. If discipline forms the foundation of wealth and purpose gives it direction, then there is another essential pillar that holds the entire structure together: control, especially control over debt. Debt has a way of appearing harmless. A small loan here, a credit purchase there, a financed phone upgrade, a car paid for in monthly installments. Each one alone may seem manageable, but together, over time, they form a quiet cage. Not a dramatic prison, but a slow, heavy tightening, a limitation of choices, a reduction of peace, a life where income is spoken for before it even arrives. The authors found that the millionaires they studied were not anti-debt in a simplistic sense. They were strategic. They understood that debt can either be a tool that builds wealth or a trap that destroys it. Bad debt is used to buy things that lose value and produce no income. Good debt, on the other hand, is used to acquire assets, things that grow, earn, or expand opportunities. But here's the truth revealed in the research. Most millionaires avoid debt whenever possible. They are cautious. They are patient. They would rather wait and save than rush and borrow. This patience is not just financial, it is emotional. It requires the ability to endure delayed gratification, to live without rushing into the life one has not yet earned. And this raises a question. Are we willing to be patient enough to build, instead of desperate enough to perform? One of the clearest illustrations from the book is the difference in how millionaires purchase cars. While the average person prioritizes brand, status, and perception, millionaires tend to prioritize value, function, and durability. They often buy used cars, reliable models, paid for in cash. Why? Because they know a car is not an investment, it is a cost. It loses value the moment it leaves the dealership. Yet, how many people today would rather finance a luxury car just for the image? How many people pay monthly for the right to be admired? This is not a criticism. It is an invitation to clarity. Ask yourself, do I want to look wealthy, or do I want to be wealthy? Because these two goals rarely coexist. The social cost of simplicity. Choosing to live below your means comes with a price. People will not understand you. They may judge you, underestimate you, whisper about your choices. But here is the subtle irony. The same people who may mock your simplicity today will one day be puzzled, even impressed, by your stability. This is the quiet, emotional maturity of the millionaire next door. They are willing to be misunderstood in the present to be secure in the future. They know something many overlook. It is better to be rich and not look rich than to look rich and not be rich. Risk. The wealthy are not reckless. Another misconception often held is that wealthy people became rich by taking huge, bold risks. But the research shows something different. Most millionaires took calculated risks, risks that were studied, measured, prepared for, and supported by backup plans. They didn't gamble. They planned. They didn't chase quick wins. They built systems. They didn't jump at every opportunity. They chose carefully and committed deeply. This is one of the most overlooked traits of wealth building. Focus. Not trying everything. Not following every trend. Not chasing every new shiny opportunity, but choosing a path and walking it with consistency and intention for years. Think of the content creator chasing every viral trend versus the quiet YouTuber who makes educational content for 3 years consistently. Who lasts longer? The one with focus. Think of the entrepreneur who launches 5 different side hustles in 1 year versus the one who sticks to building one business slowly, improving it, learning from mistakes. Who creates stability? The one with focus. Focus compounds just as money does. Distraction destroys both wealth and the potential to build it. Lifestyle choices. Wealth begins at home. Another key insight from the book. Many millionaires intentionally choose to live in average or modest neighborhoods. Not because they can't afford luxury, but because luxury environments create subtle pressures to spend more. When everyone drives expensive cars, wears designer brands, and dines out frequently, the pressure to fit in grows, even when unspoken. Millionaires avoid environments that encourage wasteful spending. They do not place themselves where appearance is the currency of respect. They choose environments where simplicity is normal. This is emotional intelligence expressed in financial behavior. Ask yourself, does my environment support my goals, or does it push me away from them? Your surroundings shape your habits more than you realize. The psychology of quiet wealth. There is a powerful serenity to the millionaire next door. They do not chase validation. They do not perform for approval. They do not build a life to impress a world that forgets itself every few seconds. Instead, they build a life that feels right on the inside. They understand this timeless truth. Happiness is not found in what is consumed. It is found in what is created and in who you become. This is why wealth built quietly lasts longer. It is rooted in identity, not in performance. We are nearing something deeper now. Because beyond spending, investing, saving, frugality, and discipline, there is something more powerful that shapes wealth. Self-image. The story we tell ourselves about who we are and what we believe we deserve. There is a certain kind of quiet confidence that comes from understanding money rather than chasing the performance of money. The millionaires the authors studied rarely obsessed over whether the stock market was up or down today. They understood that true wealth grows in cycles, through long-term consistency, not daily sprints. This mindset shows up clearly in their investment behavior. Most of their money sits in long-term, tax-efficient investments, broad market index funds, diversified portfolios, well-chosen real estate, not trendy, high-risk plays. A practical example of this can be seen in what happened during the cryptocurrency surge of 2021. While thousands of people saw dog-themed coins and meme tokens as a shortcut to riches, many quietly wealthy individuals stayed entirely unbothered. They didn't panic about missing out. They didn't chase the hype. Why? Because their wealth wasn't built on gambling. It was built on strategy. This leads to another core principle embedded in the millionaire mindset: the avoidance of unnecessary financial risk. Many people assume that being wealthy means being bold and adventurous with money, but the research contradicts that. Millionaires are careful. They take risks, yes, but they take risks they understand deeply. They don't bet on things they hope will work. They invest in things they know they can control or predict within reason. And often, the investment they understand most intimately is their own profession or business. For example, imagine a woman who runs a construction materials distribution company. She may only earn a moderate income at first, but she knows her industry, its suppliers, customers, and pricing cycles. Over time, she expands carefully, learns from every negotiation, and develops a reputation for reliability. When she decides to reinvest her profits, she doesn't put them into risky ventures she doesn't understand. Instead, she invests in purchasing her warehouse, expanding her product line, or streamlining delivery operations. Her wealth grows because she invests in what she knows, not what is popular. This approach stands in stark contrast to the typical consumer mindset, where financial decisions are driven by emotion rather than logic. Many people buy cars because the car feels good. They choose vacations because they want to look like they live well. They buy gadgets because others are buying gadgets. But millionaires? They buy based on function. They ask questions. Does this serve a purpose? Does this align with my financial goals? Does this protect my future? This emotional discipline shows up not only in spending, but also in saving. The authors found that the most financially successful people automate their saving habits. Before money ever reaches their spending accounts, a portion is already allocated to investments. By removing willpower from the equation, they avoid temptation by design. They do not try to be strong in the moment. They simply set up a system that makes the right choice automatic. But there is another layer to this discipline: patience. Millionaires are patient. They understand that wealth is not a one-year project. It is not even a 5-year project. It is a lifestyle and a long-term identity. They don't look for quick flips or overnight growth. They commit to a path and stay on it. This is where many people struggle, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack endurance. If results don't appear quickly, they abandon the plan. But millionaires know that compounding is invisible in its early years and unstoppable in its later years. This is why someone may look average for their first decade of wealth building. No flashy spending, no public displays. Yet look miraculous 20 years later when the compounding finally becomes visible. This is also why the richest individuals often do not feel pressure to display wealth. They are not in competition with anyone. They trust time to reward their discipline. They understand that wealth that must be seen is fragile, while wealth kept private is powerful. And yet, this quiet approach to wealth does not mean a life of deprivation. It simply means choosing value over vanity. It means choosing stability over impression. It means choosing meaning over display. Millionaires still enjoy life, but they enjoy it from a position of strength. For example, a financially secure family may still take vacations, but instead of financing them at high interest rates, they plan them, save for them, and enjoy them guilt-free. They may still give gifts, but thoughtfully, in ways that create connection rather than debt. They may still drive cars, but cars that serve them reliably rather than cars that announce their status. The point is not frugality for its own sake. The point is intention. Every financial decision is aligned with a larger goal: financial independence, stability, freedom, choice. This leads us to one of the deepest lessons in the book. Wealth is a reflection of identity. People don't become wealthy by accident. They become wealthy because they see themselves as builders, planners, preservers. They think long-term. They act with discipline. They prioritize what matters. They say no to impulse today, so they can say yes to freedom tomorrow. And this identity is reinforced through environment. Millionaires tend to surround themselves with people who value growth rather than appearance. They seek conversations about ideas, opportunities, and long-term improvement, not about competition and showmanship. They know that being in the wrong environment can sabotage even the best habits. So they choose their social circle carefully. This is why the book emphasizes your habits, values, and surroundings matter more than your income. There are people earning six figures who are broke because their habits are misaligned. There are people earning average salaries who become wealthy because their habits are disciplined. The millionaire next door is not extraordinary in talent. They are extraordinary in consistency. One of the most revealing sections of The Millionaire Next Door focuses on how wealthy individuals raise their children. This is where many people misunderstand wealth entirely. They assume that once someone becomes rich, their children inherit a carefree life filled with comfort, ease, and unlimited resources. But the research shows the opposite. Many wealthy parents intentionally raise their children to avoid entitlement. They know that money without discipline destroys, and discipline without money builds the capacity to create more. The book introduces a concept called economic outpatient care, which refers to parents financially supporting their adult children long after they should be independent. In most cases, this support doesn't help them, it weakens them. Children who grow up knowing there is always a financial rescue waiting behind them rarely develop strength, frugality, or ambition. They learn dependency disguised as comfort. Think of it this way. If someone never learns how to stand on their own, how can they learn how to climb? The authors found that wealthy individuals who remained wealthy across generations were those who taught their children three core principles. Live below your means. Work for what you want. Money is a tool, not an identity. This teaching often shows up in small, everyday moments. For example, instead of buying a teenager the newest iPhone every year, a millionaire parent might say, you can upgrade your phone when you earn the difference between the one you have and the one you want. This isn't punishment. It's preparation. The child learns the connection between effort and reward. Contrast this with a different scenario that plays out constantly today. You might see a young adult posting pictures on Instagram with designer sneakers, the newest phone, or traveling to expensive destinations, even though they have no stable job or savings. The lifestyle is funded by parents trying to give them a better life, not realizing they are giving them dependency, not advantage. This is why many children of wealthy families become high-consumption, low-discipline adults, and why many children of disciplined, modest families rise to success. Wealth that is earned teaches character. Wealth that is given teaches expectation. But millionaires do more than just teach discipline. They model it. Their children see them budgeting, planning, working consistently, choosing value over status. They see that wealth didn't just appear, it was built. They see that financial stability is a practice, not a personality trait. This modeling matters more than any inspirational speech ever could. Consider a modern example. A man running a successful logistics company earns well and lives comfortably, but not excessively. His children see him driving a reliable Toyota Corolla, not because he cannot afford a luxury car, but because he doesn't need one to feel worthy or respected. They watch him prioritize investments over image. They hear him talk about savings goals and business stability, not about impressing others. When they grow older, they naturally adopt similar habits, not because they were forced to, but because those habits feel normal. Compare this to another situation. A parent upgrades cars every 2 years, shops designer brands constantly, and frames enjoying life as an endless cycle of consumption. Their children learn that display equals importance. They chase external validation because that is the currency of identity they observed. The difference is not money. It is mindset. As the authors explain, wealth is not something you just pass down. It's something you must prepare the next generation to hold responsibly. Without the mindset of stewardship, wealth leaks or disappears entirely. This is one reason most wealth does not last beyond the second generation. The first generation earns the wealth. The second inherits the wealth. The third never sees the struggle, so the wealth evaporates. To prevent this, millionaires teach their children to be builders, not just consumers. They introduce them to budgeting early. They talk openly about money, not as a secret or a stress point, but as a life skill. They teach that earning is honorable, that saving is smart, that spending is a choice, not an emotional impulse. This leads directly into another key theme from the book. Wealth expands when lifestyle remains controlled. One of the fastest ways to lose wealth is through lifestyle inflation, the instinct to increase spending every time income rises. Millionaires fight this instinct intentionally. They keep their lifestyle steady even when their income increases. They may upgrade, but slowly, thoughtfully, and only when their financial foundation is secure. They never chase status through possessions. They know that possessions do not elevate internal worth. They only change external perception. And perceptions do not pay bills or buy freedom. Freedom comes from control. Control over desires. Control over spending. Control over emotion. Control over time. This is why the millionaire next door may appear ordinary. They don't need admiration to feel valuable. They don't need to prove anything. They are free in ways many high-spending individuals are not. Financial independence is not just having money. It is having choices. Choices about how to spend time. Choices about where to live. Choices about how to work or whether to work at all. And that freedom does not come from income. It comes from discipline. When we talk about wealth as freedom, we must also talk about the emotional foundation that supports it. Many people fail to build wealth not because they lack opportunity, intelligence, or even income, but because their emotional relationship with money is reactive, unexamined, or inherited unconsciously. Money is not neutral. Money has meaning attached to it, and the meaning we attach to money determines how we behave with it. If someone unconsciously believes money is a symbol of self-worth, they will spend to prove something, often to themselves. If someone believes money is scarce and difficult to obtain, they will either cling to it fearfully or avoid dealing with it altogether. But if someone believes money is a tool, one that can be directed, shaped, and controlled, they move differently. They plan differently. They feel differently. The millionaires in the study were not obsessed with money emotionally. They respected it logically. They saw it as something that responds to discipline, patience, and structure. Their emotional neutrality gave them power. It allowed them to make decisions clearly, without reacting impulsively to insecurity, ego, or anxiety. This emotional clarity is one of the quiet superpowers of the wealthy. They don't buy to impress. They don't panic when markets dip. They don't compare themselves to others. Their self-worth is anchored in their character, their habits, their consistency, not their purchases. And this emotional steadiness protects their wealth more than any investment strategy ever could. Consider two people who both earn the same income. One sees money as a means to prove they have made it. They buy expensive clothes, latest smartphones, luxury fragrances, trendy sneakers, and constantly rotate social outings to demonstrate relevance. Their spending is fueled by identity. Their bank account empties as their desire to be perceived as successful grows. The other sees money as a means to gain freedom. They save, invest, and plan. They look for durability, not applause. If they buy something, it is because it serves their life, not their image. Their bank account grows quietly as their self-confidence grows internally. After 5 years, these two individuals live in different worlds, not because of income changes, but because of identity and emotional discipline. This identity extends to how millionaires manage time as well. They recognize that time is the most valuable resource, because time cannot be regained, duplicated, or repurchased. Money is renewable, time is not. This is why many wealthy individuals avoid obligations that drain energy but provide no growth. They don't overschedule. They don't chase every opportunity. They choose commitments carefully. They build systems that reduce stress rather than increase it. You may notice that financially stressed people often feel time poor, constantly rushing, constantly behind, constantly overwhelmed. Their lack of financial structure breeds instability in every other area. Meanwhile, those who build wealth intentionally approach life with deliberate pace. They take the time to think before they act. They plan before they purchase. They evaluate before they commit. This reflective pace is a form of inner wealth. It allows them to act from clarity rather than urgency. Urgency drains wealth. Clarity builds it. But clarity requires something many people avoid: honest self-assessment. The millionaires studied were brutally honest with themselves about their strengths, weaknesses, tendencies, and patterns. They confronted their impulses rather than pretending they didn't exist. They acknowledged that without boundaries, desires expand infinitely, and infinite desire can destroy finite resources. So they created structure around their finances. Budgets, automatic investments, spending limits clear, goals, long-term plans. These structures were not restrictions. They were support beams holding their lives together. One powerful example of this structure is the practice of reverse budgeting. Investing first, spending second. A portion of income is automatically directed into investments before daily expenses even come into view. This single habit alone is responsible for much of long-term wealth building. It makes discipline automatic instead of emotional. This shift from willpower to system is the turning point for most people who build wealth. Willpower fades. Systems persist. And this leads to one of the most transformational truths embedded throughout the book. Wealth is built in silence, maintained in discipline, and enjoyed in freedom. Silence, because wealth grows faster when you do not feel compelled to prove it. Discipline, because consistency is more powerful than intensity. Freedom, because the reward of wealth is not luxury, it is choice. Choice to wake up when you want. Choice to work how you want. Choice to say no. Choice to rest. Choice to live. The millionaire next door is not chasing luxury. They are chasing autonomy. And perhaps the most striking thing is this: they already feel wealthy long before their bank account reflects it. Wealth is first a mindset, then a habit, then a bank balance, then a lifestyle. In that order, never the reverse. When someone tries to reverse the order, adopting the lifestyle first, they trap themselves in a cycle of insecurity masquerading as success. But when someone builds identity, habits, and structure first, the lifestyle arrives naturally, sustainably, and without strain. This is why the millionaire next door often looks ordinary. They are building wealth from the inside out, not the outside in. And that is the most durable form of wealth there is. As we near the close of this journey, something becomes clear. The millionaire next door is not defined by money, but by perspective. The book's research reveals that their wealth is only the visible result of something much deeper, a philosophy of life rooted in responsibility, clarity, and self-direction. They do not wait for external circumstances to favor them. They do not rely on luck. They do not see success as something that might arrive someday under special conditions. They see it as something that is built, decision by decision, day by day. This philosophy appears simplest in what they do not do rather than what they do. They do not chase social validation. They do not let their desires run unattended. They do not spend emotionally. They do not let lifestyle grow faster than income. They do not believe wealth is measured by display. Instead, they focus on something much quieter and more powerful. Control. Control of spending. Control of environment. Control of identity. Control of time. Control of future. And this control does not feel restrictive. It feels liberating. There is a peace that comes with knowing you are building something real, something that will last. There is a satisfaction in delayed gratification that those chasing instant pleasure never experience. It is the satisfaction of watching progress accumulate, slowly at first, then unmistakably. To many people in the outside world, the millionaire next door might appear unremarkable. Their car does not announce wealth. Their clothing does not signal status. Their home does not shout for attention. They live quietly, privately, deliberately. The world often overlooks them. Until one day, the world realizes that while everyone else was trying to look rich, they simply became rich. This is one of the most profound ironies in the entire study. The more someone tries to look wealthy, the less wealth they tend to accumulate. The more someone focuses on accumulating wealth, the less they feel compelled to display it. This is why the book keeps returning to the same theme. Wealth is behavioral, not emotional, not accidental, behavioral. And the behaviors are deceptively simple. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference consistently. Avoid debt that does not produce income. Live in a way that is comfortable, not theatrical. Value your autonomy more than your image. These behaviors require something many people struggle with, the willingness to define success on your own terms. Because the truth is, modern culture is designed to distract you from your own goals. Everywhere you turn, you are being shown images of lifestyles, not lives. You are being sold identity through consumption. You are told, implicitly and explicitly, that your value is visible, measurable by the perceptions of others. But the millionaire next door rejects this quietly, almost invisibly. They do not chase an identity, they choose one. They do not follow trends, they observe them. They do not compete externally, they improve internally. They know that the world rewards those who appear wealthy in the moment, but life rewards those who discipline themselves for the future. And so, they take the longer path. The path without applause. The path without immediate recognition. The path that demands patience, intention, and maturity. But this path leads somewhere that the path of performance never can. Financial independence. And beyond independence, something even more valuable, self-respect. There is something deeply grounding about knowing you earned your stability. Something unshakable. Something that does not depend on whether the world approves of you or even notices you. This is the kind of wealth that allows you to rest without guilt, work without fear, give without insecurity, speak without self-consciousness, live without pretense. It is not loud. It is not flashy. It is not dramatic. It is steady. It is quiet. It is deeply human. And perhaps the most empowering realization from the millionaire next door is this. You do not need extraordinary circumstances to build extraordinary wealth. You do not need to be born into advantage. You do not need a prestigious degree. You do not need a unique talent. You do not need a rare opportunity. You need consistency. and consistency is available to anyone willing to live with intention. Wealth, in this light, is not the reward of luck. It is the reflection of identity. Not the identity given to you, but the identity you choose and reinforce daily. The millionaire next door is not a rare anomaly. They are simply someone who made different decisions, repeatedly, quietly, without spectacle, until those decisions shaped a life. And if one person can make those decisions, another person can make them too. Which is where your story comes in. Because the question is no longer, can I become wealthy? The real question is, what identity will I choose to live into? Because the moment you begin to live like someone who is building wealth, you already are. If this message resonated with you, subscribe and join us for more wisdom that fuels growth.